that's big business. Hit 10, but that's big pimpin'. My potential, that's infinite. Pin game insane. Make hits like King Griffin, a 10th inning.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very, dare I say, tired episode 59 of the 10th Inning Podcast. Dan pulled an all-nighter, has not slept because he's that much of a scholar and is concerned with his grades because he's a soon-to-be graduate of UNC Chapel Hill. And me, on the other hand, I've been sick for 2 days and barely have gotten out of bed. So we are thriving here at the 10th Inning Podcast. Dan, how you doing?
Sean, I think there's no better time to have this episode because what happens when you're sick or you haven't slept in 40/80, you get a little grumpy, Sean, and there's nothing better to do when you're a little bit grumpy than list your qualms. And I got qualms up the wazoo. I don't have an object for you, Sean, but what I have for you today is Qualm City, bitch. Qualm City, bitch. Okay, MVPs, rookies of the years, gold gloves in the city, bitch. Okay, that's what we got.
Little Tiger reference. Who would have thought 10th Inning Podcast? Tiger.
Friend of the pod. Friend of the pod.
Huge friend of the pod. Do you want to start with some just league news first before we get into the qualms?
We kind of have to because I don't know if you saw about Jose Abreu. I don't know if it's the first thing on your docket, but I mean, the
Yep, that
Stros.
was actually the first. Believe it or not.
So Houston, I feel like we both spoke about it when we were going over the like who we think they should trade for during the deadline. We're like they got to get a first baseman, and I think we both pinned either Josh Bell. I think I had Josh Bell going, and one of us I think also had Trey Mancini because they were going to get a first baseman because Yuli was really
Yeah.
struggling. Um, Obviously Mancini was just a plug and play, so they did it, and they did get their first baseman, and it's Jose Abreu, and I mean that's scary good addition to that already World Series winning team.
A very underrated player, I think. He won, I think, the MVP in 2020, that short year. He doesn't get talked about enough. Obviously the White Sox haven't been that good in his 9 years there. He only made the playoffs once or maybe twice, one of these years being the COVID year. Um, but he's a guy who doesn't strike out tons for his archetype of a player. I don't know if I used that word correctly. Let me know if I did or not.
Yeah, you did.
We care on the pod. Yeah, he's a solid player. Plug him in fifth, sixth in that lineup. He'll end up probably getting you around 100 RBIs because there's so much skill ahead of him in the lineup. There'll be people on base. Solid defender at first. Can DH too if you need it. Nice beard. And like I said, underrated player. I've always liked him on the White Sox. I hate to see him going to the Astros. And apparently the Cleveland Guardians had pretty much the same offer on the table for him, 3 years. The money hasn't come out yet on either side. So we don't know if that is the same. But turn that down, went to the Astros. You can't really blame him. Go to a team that just won the World Series and has been a perennial powerhouse for the last 5 years, or a team that is the Guardians, which are good. They made the playoffs, they made a bit of a run this year, but nowhere in the same stratosphere um, of the Houston Astros. It's definitely a win now move for both sides, Abreu and the Astros. He's 36, but it doesn't appear age is stopping him. And frankly, he's a Cuban defect and defector, right, is how you say it.
Hmm.
So we don't really know how old he is because sometimes these guys that gets a little hazy up there in the age. I know a similar thing with Yuli Gurriel, ironically enough, who he will be replacing at first base, a fellow Cuban native. But anyway, I like the move for the Astros, and they're just going to be as scary next year as they were this year, if not more scary.
Yeah, I had a couple things I wanted to say. I don't remember any of them. Well, first thing was, first of all, Jose Abreu, to you and your family, you are not a defect. There is nothing wrong with you. Okay? Don't ever let Sean talk that way about you or your family. You are just because you came from Cuba does not mean that there's something wrong or missing with you. You are not a defect. The second thing I want to say is I didn't know Cleveland was in on this because they got Josh Naylor. I feel like that's a kid they really, not a kid. I know he's kind of older as a prospect, but he was kind of like their guy, and like he's actually pretty good. He's really underrated, Josh Naylor, and he's
He
a
is
good
the baby
defender.
rocking guy, right? I'm not just doing that for
Yeah,
no reason.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He's a baby rocking guy. So I'm surprised they were looking for a first baseman. I know Josh plays a little outfield too, and maybe Cleveland's looking for a DH. Jose is getting up there. I don't know. I don't think he's too wonderful with the glove.
Yeah, he's pretty serviceable at that, and he's
Yeah,
36, so you'd assume the defense would take some pretty drastic slips on the upcoming 3 years of that contract.
yeah, because Josh can pick it a little bit too. So I think that's probably a DH move for the Guardians. If I'm just
That move, had it happened, would have really made the lineup a lot better for Cleveland.
oh yeah,
Also shows you that they are going to be aggressive in free agency. Maybe not sign
interesting.
those
Yeah,
huge long term guys, but maybe those intermittent guys like the Edwin Encarnacion deal they signed years back.
yeah,
Gave him a good amount of money, but the length wasn't crazy long. Uh, but they're in that kind of mode now. But I mean, world champs or AL Central winners when the AL Central was terrible. I think you're going to go world champs.
yeah. And I'm sorry. The other thing I wanted to say was I'm sorry to Jose. I kind of was shitting on him last year. I think in our power, I might have even left him off our top 10 list. I know I was really low on Jose. So I
Yeah.
apologize for all the slander I've given you throughout my career.
All right. Moving on. We have quite a player here. He's coming back for his last and final year. Miguel Cabrera. No one calls him Miggy at Kyle. Um, Hall of Fame career already, coming back for another year. He's getting his farewell tour. That's why he's doing it.
Yeah,
He deserves it, and it's good to see Miggy back after losing Pujols this year, Molina this year. Um, one of the other cornerstones of the last 20 years of baseball, Miguel Cabrera. Nice to see him one more year, and we can really appreciate the greatness that he had because, ironically enough, in my opinion, he was a Triple Crown winner, obviously. Was underrated throughout his entire career. I know playing in Detroit probably didn't help that, but he was the face of some really good teams. And I think people are going to look back 20 years from now and say, wow, Miguel Cabrera was even better than what we thought he was. So,
yeah. I mean, it was Pujols and Cabrera. They were the two best hitters on the planet, and there was a point in the thick of their career, in the pre-teens slash early teens where people were considering these might be two of the best top five right-handed hitters of all time kind of situation if they were to continue their career. Pujols had a pretty sharp decline once he left St. Louis, but up until St. Louis, Pujols was on track probably to be the greatest right-handed hitter of all time, and he's still, even with the drop off, easy top 10. You'd have it. There's probably top five still, and Miggy's right there. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't think they could throw him in the All-Star game again. They kind of did that this year. He kind of, not that he's overstayed his welcome. You'll never overstay your welcome in the major leagues, Miguel. But I'm happy to see him get one last ride.
yeah, no, I am too. And to move things along here, so the Qualms get their final due, full due. Sorry, I'm not speaking well tonight,
Oh
folks. Like I
yeah.
said,
Hey, I'm sorry if you're yawning out there at home. It's contagious. I'm gonna try and yawn to the
yeah,
side so I don't get everyone yawning.
I'm fighting back a yawn right now as we speak.
I saw.
This one's sure to get the yawns out of you and get you fired up. The Dodgers are meeting with Justin Verlander this week. I think tomorrow. Um, we'll see how that goes. We'll see where it goes, and we'll see if Justin Verlander will be in that rotation next year, so Dave Roberts can put him in the closer position because that's just what Dave does.
Sean, if I get to see Dave Roberts ruins Justin Verlander's legacy more, maybe it'll be worth it. But I definitely never thought Verlander and Kershaw would be in a rotation together. Definitely never thought they'd be in a rotation together where Verlander would most likely be ahead of Clayton in that rotation. I'm actually sick to my fucking stomach right now. I want to be quite frank with you. I really hope he goes to the Mets. I want it. I want Verlander on the Mets like I've never wanted anything else in my entire life. Dodgers get Verlander, it might be wraps. I'll ride out the Clayton train, but that's it, boys. That's it. If we get Judge and Verlander, Sean, I don't even think Clayton keeps me with the team. I think I just move. I think I say, Clay, I'm sorry, but this is too much.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Judge, he had not one but two meetings with the San Francisco Giants this week.
I've been
Apparently, it went
saying it.
very well, and the Giants pulled out all the stops. They brought in Steph Curry. among some other Bay Area legends, to try and get him to stick around. He's from that area, and there was a video of him in the airport out there. So he had two meetings, and we'll see how it goes. The Yankees, I saw a report just before we hopped on that the Yankees are hopeful he comes back, but not at all confident. Um, we'll see where this goes. There hasn't been a whole lot of rumblings outside of the Yankees and Giants. The Dodgers were rumored to be suitors, but I have not heard any other news beyond that, which was about a week ago. So that could come right back up to the forefront again pretty quickly. But I think the odds-on favorites are between the Giants and the Yankees in the Judge sweepstakes. So
Yeah, I've been on the Giants for like most of the season too. I've been tweeted a couple times. Like, I just don't see a world where he doesn't go to San Francisco. He just seems like such a guy that like he's so pissed at New York because New York treated him like shit. Not New York. I mean, Cashman did, and I mean, I could just see him wanting to go home. It's still a big market, you know. It's still like a big stage. It's still a ball club that is willing to spend money and willing to put a winning product on the field. So, just makes so much sense for him to go to San Francisco and for him to not be in New York. But only time will tell, Sean. Only time will tell.
absolutely, and this will be a long going story for us because I don't think he signs all that soon. Um, Another little quick story about free agency is Trey Turner. According to Joel Sherman, is most likely to sign with the Phillies. He would be surprised if um, they don't sign him. So obviously, I don't like that. He torched the Mets when he was on Washington. He'll torch the Mets when he's on Philly, and I want the Mets to sign him. But yeah, the Phillies, they got some money to spend, I guess, and they're looking to spend it. Also, Bryce Harper's going to be out probably the first half of next year after getting Tommy John surgery on his UCL. So he'll be out for a little while, which will be a difficult thing for the for the Phillies to deal with. And moving on to the last league news note that I have is Shohei Otani won the Outstanding Designated Hitter Award for the second straight year. That was what they call in show business, not show business. That's what they call in journalism. Journalism, I think. A foregone conclusion. They may not even call it that. I'm
You know, Sean, you're trying, and what the fans see at home is you making an attempt, and that's all anyone could ever ask of you. That's it. That's all anyone could ever ask. Um, Phenomenal out of Shohei. What had you just said prior to Shohei?
Trey Turner.
Trey Turner. God bless you, man. I'm so happy we're not even talking to him. I don't think we're even giving him the time of fucking day, as we should not. Enjoy him, Philadelphia. To the city of Philadelphia, I hope you can get everything you ever wanted out of him, man. Put him in shortstop. In 3 weeks, you'll be shooting yourself in the head. Have fun with that head case. Holy shit. If only people knew how fucking bad Trey Turner was. Don't
He
look
only
at
hit
the
like
stats.
300 last year.
Don't look at the stats. Don't read me the stats. Watch the fucking games. Watch the games. Watch Trey Turner play. He's dog shit. Dog shit. High
All
leverage,
right,
dog shit. Not a friend of the pod.
Trey, I don't mind you at all. Come over to my team in Queens. All right. Now this is where it really gets fun. If you think Dan is really animated in the league news, oh boy, the qualms. He has been qualming it up the entire week. Um, I told him he's got to take it easy on the qualms because he might overdo it. He almost overdid it last year. If you go back to that video, that was probably our eighth or ninth video or episode, excuse me. And it's qualming season.
It is calming season. And I get in there, Sean, and I just have a lot of them. I just feel like they just don't know what they're doing sometimes, Sean. And I want to shout out the people who deserve these awards, in my opinion. That's all I got to say. Where do you want me to
Yeah.
start, Sean? What awards do you want me to start qualming on?
So I assume the Gold Gloves are going to have a lot of qualms. Do you
They
have
do
any
have.
qualms? You don't have any qualms with the managers, right?
Let me check. Let me check my notes, Sean. You want me to
Buck
go
and
to
Tito.
managers first? I'll go to. I'm sure I got something, Sean.
Buck and Tito. All right. Let's
Let's
go to the
see.
managers.
I'm scrolling down. I have a 13 pages worth of qualms, if I'm just being clear with
Oh,
everybody.
Jesus. I may fall asleep during this episode.
Okay. So with Tito, I have his color now. And let me tell you something, guys. We got color coded. If it's colored red, it's a qualm. We're talking a qualm. If it's color coded orange, it's like I can see where they went with this, but I disagree respectfully.
Yeah.
Red, I'm not. It's not. There's nothing even respectful about the red. It's just you're clearly wrong. Something went wrong here. Um, and then a yellow is like I actually agree with you at the end of the day, but there is someone we should talk about because they deserve to be at least spoken about too a little bit. So that being said, um, for the managers, I do have quasi qualms on both. For the American League, Tito Francona, um, it's a yellow. It's a yellow qualm, meaning it's not a transgression, of course. And basically, it says for qualm's sake. I mean, really, this is just, and I'm glad we're going first because this is just a qualm to get the qualm started. I really didn't need to have a qualm here, but I was just in such a qualm. I knew what I wanted to get it out. And I'm going to read you something for the reason why I think at the end of the day, Scott Service should have been the manager of the year. Listen, Tito, phenomenal, did a phenomenal job. No one expected Cleveland to win that division. That division was kind of left for grabs, and Cleveland has been a competitive team in the last every year, basically since 2015. They've been competitive in the thick of it. Um, you look at Baltimore, no one thought they would win any games, way over surpassed it, but they still finished in fourth place at the end of the day. And I do feel like there was some young luck in there that, where the manager might not have 100% played a role in it. But the Mariners, 2 years in a row, this is 90 wins for the Mariners. And I want to say something about Scott Service. Service led the Mariners to 90 wins for the second straight year, joining Lou Piniella as the only managers in club history to do so. But it was the way he oversaw the Mariners that proved so impactful, Sean. The Mariners, for the second straight year, had a knack for winning close games. Remember, we spoke about this last season, how they won so many close games. Was this going to be sustainable for next year? They led the MLB with 34 wins in one-run contests while racking up 13 walk-off wins, tying a franchise record, and 40 comeback wins. They were also 11-5 in extra innings, AL's best win percentage. Now, when you talk about coming back or winning in close games or winning in extra innings, that's where I think the managers have played the most impact. Multiple reasons. One, motivation. We're talking about the psychological aspect of it. When you're down in a game, how do you motivate your players to come back and win 40 times in extra innings? How do you motivate your players? Come on, I know this is inning 12, inning 13. We got to keep going, got to keep pushing. And decision making. I mean, everything's on a magnifying glass. You get into your bullpen when you're getting into close games and in those situations. And that's when decisions really have to be made. When you're in a blowout win and your starter's cruising, you're not really having to make decisions as much. Your players are helping you with that. Service had to manage this team. These were close games they were winning. So for that being said, for them finally making the playoffs, the story it was, I think Scott Service should have been the manager of the year in the American League.
I don't have a qualm with your minor qualm. I think they're both very deserving. I think I think the voters maybe weighed the preseason expectations more heavily than you or I may have done so. But I do understand where you're coming from on that. I really do.
And my it's actually a red qualm, but not with Buck Showalter, just the NL Manager of the Year. My qualm is Dave Roberts was a finalist. I find that to be asinine. I find that to be the most offensive thing I've ever heard in my entire fucking life. In no way, shape, or form is Dave Roberts a good manager. There's no way is he a serviceable manager. I think he's quite possibly the worst manager since Don Mattingly managed the Dodgers, which was the previous manager. That's what I have to say. He should not be manager of the year because
He's
he
like a
managed an
finalist every
all-star
year.
team. He's managing an all-star squad, Sean. He has to try to fuck it up, and let me tell you, he does. He does it. I'm not Buck. Congratulations, Dave. You shouldn't have been there.
All right. You want to move on to rookie of the year?
Sure. I can move on to rookie of the year.
What color are we feeling here?
Well, Sean, I gotta find it, to be frank with you. I didn't really organize the quant. Oh, here they are. Sean, you're gonna like this. It's a fucking miracle. I have no qualms. No, this I think this is the only award where both given out I have no qualms with. Julio Rodriguez and Michael Harris are more than deserving. Uh, they are honestly two stud, possible top 10 outfielders in the league for the next 10 years. And you don't see that happen very often. You think of Acuna and Soto when they came up, you know,
Yep.
um, this kind of, feels like that vibe, that next wave of the Acuna Soto type player. Not so much the exact same skill sets, but as far as star power, they have it out the wazoo. And I think when you look back at it, A, they had the best 2 seasons and deserved it. And B, out of the rookies, they will have the longest standing impact, and I'm excited for their careers.
Yeah, I think that these were kind of no-brainer picks. Obviously, Spencer Strider was number two, ironically enough. Excuse me, teammates on the Braves. But I think Michael Harris and Julio Rodriguez deserve it. Julio got a nice little parade back home. And Michael Harris, another guy, kind of came out of nowhere. I don't think he was a super highly touted prospect. Came straight from Double A. I remember seeing his first at bat. He struck out on 3 pitches, all of which were about 2 feet outside the strike zone. And then from there, he just got better. So props to both of them. Julio had huge expectations and lived up to it and far exceeded it, I think, in his rookie year. But yeah, like you said, the next wave of young stars coming up for these two guys.
Yeah. Where do you want to go to next, Sean?
Let's do Cy Youngs because I know you're gonna have a qualm with at least one of them.
Okay, okay. Let's see. Cy Young Award. So, in the American League, I don't really care about the winner. I actually think the winner should have won. I don't have a qualm with the winner of the American League Cy Young. I do have a qualm, similarly to Dave Roberts being named as a finalist, Shohei Ohtani not being named a finalist for the AL Cy Young. I have a little bit of a qualm for. I would have had him over Manoah for sure. Ohtani had, I think, the second most WAR. He had more WAR than Verlander and Manoah. Cease had more than him as far as starting pitching. Not counting offense. And I know it's not like the MVP award, so we're talking about a guy who carries a friggin' staff, Sean. That's Shohei Ohtani. Don't even think about his bat. I'm talking straight arm. He was shoving.
Do you think the innings pitched had any effect on voters or the people who decided the finalists?
And maybe, but I'm pushing back on that. Cease didn't have too many. Cease had 180 max. And Verlander won with 175. Shohei had 166. You're telling me nine
Okay.
innings pitched? Like
Yeah.
Shohei had 166. That's a load in this day and age. Sadly enough, that's a workload. It's only 9 innings less than Verlander, so I think he should have been a finalist. That's my qualm. In the National League, Sandy was, I mean, one of the most clear-cut Cy Youngs we've seen in a while, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He absolutely deserved absolute horse. The whole matching up with the ERA and the innings pitched, the 28, 2.28, 228 innings. Everybody loves that. I believe that's what it was. I don't have any qualms there.
Yeah, I think the Cy Young race was pretty much decided before the votes were cast. It really was nothing surprising there. Uh, I think the real question is, do the Marlins trade out Contra this offseason? Because they love to just trade away young talent. So
That'd be, I wonder what they would have to get to move him. I don't know how many years of control he has.
I'm not really sure. He's been up for a little while now. I think he's been up for at least 3 years.
Yeah.
Um, I said half jokingly, tongue in cheek, that they'll trade him, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's at least some rumor out there they're at least listening to offers because it's the Marlins. They trade away Dontrell Willis, Miguel Cabrera, who we mentioned earlier. The list goes on.
Yeah.
But anyway, nonetheless, an outstanding season for Sandy, and yeah, kind of a throwback season, for him. Like you said, the innings pitched were well into the 200s, and the ERA matched up with it, which is pretty cool. Little anomaly. Yeah. Do you want to hop over to the most valuable players?
Yeah, Sean, I don't mind doing it. And I know that I'm not really keeping up with what I'm saying, but I think more of the smaller awards is where I had the major qualms. I actually think we did a pretty good job with the major awards this year. That being said, let me find. Did, did I lose the MVP, Sean? Did I lose it? MVP. Okay. Um, in the American League, I had no qualms, frankly, with the with the American League MVP. Uh,
It's tough too.
I thought about trying to squeeze Shohei in there, but even with Shohei's pitching, Aaron Judge provided so much value this year. Most WAR in the league, over 10.
Yeah.
And not that WAR's the end all be all, but we've said it a million times. Without Judge, the Yankees are in fourth place. Without Shohei, the Angels are still in fourth place.
Yeah.
So it's a huge factor. In the National League, however, Sean, I do have an orange qualm. I have an orange qualm, so it's not yellow. It's I can see where you went with this. I respect your decision, but respectfully, I disagree. Um, I've said it before. I think Manny Machado should have been the National League MVP this year. We're talking about a guy. The MVP is all encompassing. All encompass. Premier defender. You know, Obviously you could have said Arenado, but it was Paul Goldschmidt going against Paul. Manny Machado's a premier defender, very very close with his offensive numbers to Paul Goldschmidt. And not that Paul doesn't have leadership, because I think he certainly does, but the growth that Manny Machado went through this season, um, I think is something that should be celebrated, something that should be awarded and commemorated. Not to mention his consistency. The man plays every game, and he's playing through, um, you know, St. Louis. Yes, it's like it's a big market team because they've always been historically good. It's a historically good team. But San Diego, you're in California. I think the spotlight's a little bit hotter on you there. And he's playing with some tumultuous situations going on in the clubhouse constantly, trying to grow into a leader as he's doing it. And he played hurt for a couple months, and it really hurt his stats. June and July, his OPS was down in like the 600s or something, high 600s, and it really kind of tailed off his stats. But he continued to play because that's who he was this year. And I think the value that he provided. I think if Paul wasn't on the Cardinals, they still have Arenado, and it's hard to say like just because you have another good player on your team makes you less valuable. But without Manny Machado, man, I don't think the Padres stay afloat at all. So that and the defense he brings, the offense being so close, I got to go Manny Machado as my MVP.
Yeah, I agree with all those facts. The maturity level, my goodness, he has hit a whole different stride of his career. He was always the guy earlier in his career who was throwing bats down a third baseline when he was swinging. Um, he has really changed, even from when he was on the Padres the first couple of years. But I
Yeah.
think we all kind of saw it last year with Tatis and him kind of getting into it in the dugout. And at the time, a lot of people took the side of Tatis, so saying, Machado's not letting him, have fun out there. And we're kind of seeing that maybe Tatis is a little immature and needs some of that going down. And Machado this year stood up, answered all the tough, difficult questions brought on, partially by Tatis this year, and just led the team, with his leadership as well as his glove and bat. And a team helped lead a team that had really no playoff success in the past 20 years to an NLCS, beating a 100-win team, the Mets, and a 100-plus win team in the Dodgers. I will say this: I will qualm with what you said about St. Louis and San Diego. I feel like St. Louis has quite a big spotlight on them because of the history, and their fans
Yep.
take baseball extremely
They do.
serious.
They
In
do.
San Diego, you kind of can baseball as sports itself in California are not all that prominent. You have to kind of find it. Um, and the Padres themselves are a small market team that are um, not like the Dodgers. But where I will agree with you on is the Padres have had expectations for years now and have made some big moves financially and getting rid of assets for Juan Soto. So I I do understand where you're coming from in that regard. But yeah, no, Machado has stepped in that leadership role quite seamlessly when needed, and he's the face of that team moving forward.
Who's your MVP in the National League? You staying with Paul? You going to
I'm
Nolan?
staying with Paul. Frankly, I think that Lindor probably, in my opinion, would have gotten it ahead of Machado. I think Lindor probably, I don't know where it finished, but I think Lindor, in my opinion, would be second, and
Okay.
then Machado. But as it's a toss up there for the same reasons we like Machado, I think Lindor's, leadership, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but
So
if you look at
you're okay.
offensively, yeah, Machado had an outstanding season, and then
Oh yeah.
defensively, he always provides you Gold Glove, caliber talent out there.
So would you say you had a qualm with Francisco not being a finalist?
Yeah,
You had a qualm with that. You
I didn't
bring
know he
those
wasn't
qualms.
a finalist, to be honest with you. I didn't look at the finalists. I assumed he was. Um,
It was no, it was Paul, Nolan,
yeah,
and Manny.
I guess I could have looked at that picture behind you. But yeah, no, he absolutely should have been a finalist. Frankly, Pete Alonso, throw him in there. Obviously, you can only have three people, so Alonso
Right.
wouldn't get in. Machado and Lindor, I think, were very worthy candidates had Goldschmidt not had the season that he did have.
I'm gonna quickly just go over the kind of the rest of the awards that are not, the Silver Sluggers, Gold Gloves, where I'm gonna have the most qualms, because we're kind of doing the bigger awards right now, and I want to shift to the Hank Aaron Awards, which don't get enough play. It is its own award. I'm not worried about what you're providing for your team necessarily. I'm looking at who mashed. I don't care how well you play defense. I don't care about your team impact. I'm caring about mashing baseballs. And here is where I have zero qualms with uh, either, and that is Paul Goldschmidt and Aaron Judge. I think they were both definitely the best hitters in their league. No qualms about it, and they both won the Hank Aaron Award. How do you feel about the discrepancy of the MVP and the Hank Aaron? Do you try and do a clear cut, or do you think they're too close?
No, I like it. I like the clear cutness of it as far as offensive. That's all you're really looking at. Um, I like that. More times than not, I think it's going to be the same MVP and Hank Aaron, but it's not always the case. Um, but yeah, I like that award. Like you said, it doesn't get a lot of play because the MVP award. Every sport has an award like that, where the best offensive player in their sport will get something. But I do like it. I do like it.
Because really, when you think about it, that's the Cy Young Award for hitters. Like the Cy Young is in the MVP because no one thinks about Cy Young like how much impact you have. Because also pitchers can win MVP. It's just hitters traditionally win, unless you're Clayton Kershaw. Unless you're Clayton, hitters traditionally win MVP, so they don't have to worry about the Hank Aaron. Um, why don't we get a pitcher's like MVP as well, and then maybe Hank Aaron and Cy Young will. I don't know. That would demoralize Cy. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I just
Yeah, I feel like if that were the case, the Cy Young wouldn't really mean much. Because
yeah
basically, hitter or pitcher MVP is the Cy Young,
yeah. That's
and
fair.
Cy's a very sensitive guy.
Oh, 100%, 100%. But I might argue that with the Astros staff, Verlander wasn't that impactful, and Shohei had a much bigger impact. And I might argue that. I might throw an argument out there if we had to look at more than raw numbers for the Cy Young. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I might throw some out there. Um, and the last thing that really is nothing to talk about is the not nothing to talk about. The Clemente Award going to Ginger Cheese, Justin Turner. No qualms whatsoever. Much deserved. Phenomenal foundation he has with his wife. I love you, Justin. I love you with all my heart. But Sean, it's time to get quality. I'm not gonna lie to you. Do you want
Oh,
Gold Gloves or do you want Silver Sluggers? And what league do you want to start in?
let's do gold in the AL.
AL Gold Gloves. Well, Sean, first position, as you know, is going to be catcher. The winner this year, Jose Trevino. Also, the Platinum Glove Award. So, if I had a qualm with this, although I did last year, I had a qualm with Correa even winning his Gold Glove at short
Yeah.
because I thought Tommy Edmonds should have won. Um, no qualm with Jose Trevino winning the catcher's Gold Glove in the American League. He had 17 framing runs saved, Sean. That not Heim Bloom. Jesus, Jonah Heim was, was the next highest with 12. And he also had the highest strike rate at 54%. Jose Trevino, not only was he clear-cut the best catcher defensively this year in either league, the fact that he did it on a team, and I might get emotional, Sean. If I do, I'm sorry. I'm
Okay.
also tired when you don't sleep a lot. The fact that he did it on a team, Sean, that's been so bereft of just competence at the catching position for so many years. I think it just meant something. It meant something to people for him to come in there and catch the ball. You know, just throw to second base and not center field. You know, it meant something. It meant something to me.
It
Moving
did.
on.
I mean, Gary Sanchez set the bar pretty low, so that couldn't have hurt. But I understand why you're getting emotional. I really do.
It's been tough, Sean. It's been tough. First base, Sean. You know who the Gold Glove winner first base was in the American League?
Vlad Guerrero Jr.
Is that off rip? Does that make any fucking sense to you?
No, absolutely not.
No, this is a red qualm, Sean. And I don't need to get into. I don't need to look up stats. I don't need to. And neither should anyone else, because it just sounds stupid. It's so stupid, Sean. It actually triggers me. I'm triggered right now of how stupid of a thing. No offense, Vlad. You're okay. Runs prevented, -3. Outs above average, -3. Eye test. What are we talking about? That's my notes for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. The actual Gold Glove Award winner, deserving, Ryan Mountcastle, Sean. 2 runs prevented, 2 outs above average. Eye test, no clue to be frank. Honestly, I have not watched a lot of Ryan Mountcastle, but I can almost assure you he's better than Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And almost every defensive metric says that. We need to stop giving it to people that are popular or have good offensive numbers. This is my biggest qualm with the Gold Gloves. I had it last year, I have it every year. It's just about defense. There's so many awards that are all about offense. Even All-Star voting is all about offense. There's one award that's solely ranking people on defense. Defense is such a big part of the game. Such a big part. Let them have one award. I don't care if they hit 0. It's defense only. All right? Sorry, I'm going to hop off the soapbox. But
No, it's
I
okay.
set that precedent.
Tell you that Qualms is as red as your hat.
Yeah. Second base, Sean. It's another red qualm. It's another red qualm. And I hate to do it because I like this guy. Andres Jimenez, former Met. 9 runs prevented, 12 outs above average. Eye test, pretty great. So I got nothing against Andres Jimenez. He had a Gold Glove deserving season. But unfortunately, Jonathan Scope plays second base in the American League right now. 20 runs prevented, 27 outs above average. Led all of baseball with both of those statistics. Eye test this year was wonderful. I've seen some highlights. People were talking about it all year. He really reinvented himself at second base. Scope hasn't been a premier defender for his entire career. He's been pretty much league average to almost below average. You want to say something?
Did he play a lot of games compared to Jimenez? I know Jimenez played a lot.
Scope had a full load.
Okay.
He had a full load. Yes, I made sure I was looking at the amount of games played as well. He had a full load out there in Detroit, and he was also you can't rack up that many outs above average because it's not something you work backwards from a percentage. You have to build up to do it.
Yeah.
Scope was real Scope was the most impactful defender in the American League this year. Whether that means anything to you or not, based on these, I know defensive metrics are kind of like new and they're not 100%, but there's a difference between being 100% and standard deviation. Like if you're this much out of the water, something's going right for you. You're doing something right.
Yeah.
They're not this wrong. So I think Jonathan Scope should have certainly been the Gold Glove Award winner. And I actually have this. This was a really big qualm for me because it's the second year in a row. I think the best defender in the league last year was Tommy Edman. Got screwed out of a Gold Glove award. and they could have won a platinum. So I have a little couple paragraphs to read. Not this is the last thing I'm going to say on this topic. Um, Instead, the award went to Cleveland Guardians second baseman Andres Gimenez, who had a breakout season. And it's not like he's not deserving of the award. After all, he led all second basemen in defensive runs saved with 16, but Scope led all second basemen in every other category, both traditional and advanced stats. He committed the fewest amount of errors, 3, and led all second basemen and position players in the league with 27 outs above average. But we knew he wouldn't win the award. In fact, we predicted it when the finalists were announced. Jimenez had the best offensive season of the 3 finalists, Scope and Marcus Semien, and played for a playoff team. It's really no surprise that he won the award. It's just sad that the voters take in other factors for an award that's supposed to recognize defense.
Is that what you wrote?
That's something I read because I was looking up I saw them like how was Scope snubbed? Like what? Like is there something weird about outs above average where like he got somewhere his positioning? And it's basically the sentiment I'm hearing is the sentiment I'm upset about is that people just don't. They look at the player and think of how they feel about them and not about the one specific quality they're supposed to be awarding the award for. That's all I'm going to say, Sean.
Yeah,
Beautifully written. Beautifully written.
absolutely.
Third base, Ramon Urias, or Urias. I don't know how he spells it. Says it. Of the Orioles. No qualm, frankly, Sean. No qualm. Shout out to Bregman. He had a really good year defensively, but Ramon was a little bit tad better, in my opinion. But it was kind of like a coin flip, but no qualm. Especially not for an Astro. You're not going to see me getting on a soapbox for Alex Bregman. Shortstop, Jeremy Pena. Yellow qualm. Yellow qualm. Meaning that at the end of the day, I agree with you, but coin flip, this could have went another way. Runs prevented 5 for Jeremy, outs above average 7, success rate of 80%. Eye test wonderful. I do think Jeremy Pena is a good defender. However, Jorge Mateo, Ramon Urias' counterpart over there on the left side of the infield, 8 runs prevented, 11 outs above average. Obviously, both better than Pena, but his success rate was 75%. To Pena's 80%, so I understand. And defensive run saves, I think, favors Jeremy Pena as well. Eye test on Mateo is solid. I think he's actually a pretty decent shortstop. I think Pena's probably better in the long term, but a good year out of Mateo, and I think he should be recognized for it.
Wasn't Mateo an outfielder at one point?
Yeah, Mateo, originally with the Yankees. I was a huge
Yeah.
Mateo guy.
He was a big prospect.
100%. Speed out the Waz. I think he was coming up as a shortstop. I think he got moved to the outfield. Was he in Oakland for a little bit, I think?
I think so. I think he was on the Padres too for a little while as well.
Yeah, so he's bounced around a little bit, but he actually did okay this year. He had like a serviceable season, both with the bat and the glove, and he stole a lot of bases too, I believe. So I'm glad to see him actually breaking into the league any way he can. And it's not a defensive game. Have you had any qualms so far?
No, I don't think so.
Left field, Sean. Stephen Kwan. I'm so happy I don't have a qualm because I would have been upset if I had to give one. Runs prevented 10, outs above average 12, success rate 91%. Eye test wonderful. Much deserving of a Gold Glove out there in left field. Center field, another Guardian, Miles Straw, orange qualm, Sean, which is I'll remind you guys. Respectfully, I disagree, but respectfully, of course. 12 runs prevented, 13 outs above average, success rate 91%. Eye test good. Miles Straw is a good center fielder, probably a great center fielder. However, Jose Siri saw him a little bit in the postseason as well. Runs prevented 13, so one more than him. Outs above average 14, one more than him. Success rate 94%, 3% more than him. Eye test great. Jose Siri was just like a little bit better in every single stat. So that's where I'm like, so then why Straw? Like if it's so clear that it's close, but it is obvious that he's a little bit better. So why are we going with Miles Straw? And that feels like Miles Straw is just the bigger player, and Jose Siri is not. He's a defender. Miles Straw has a little bit more of a bat to him, a little bit more of a personality. We saw it in New York. Jose Siri. Give him the what's it? Cy Young. Give Jose Siri the Cy Young. Go ahead, I don't care. Right field, Kyle Tucker. Red Quam, Sean. Red Quam. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I don't think he's a bad outfielder. Runs prevented 5, outs above average 5, success rate 91. Eye test solid. Max Kepler, Sean, was out there digging it this year. Digging it. He's never panned out. One of those guys, highly touted prospect, really didn't ever become exactly what he was supposed to be. He's a major league player, but he's on the fringe for sure. Runs prevented 10, doubling Tucker. Outs above average 12, more than doubling Tucker. Success rate 91%. The same eye test, also solid. I don't think Kepler's an elite defender, but I think he's on par with Tucker and had a better season numbers wise with the metrics. So why not give it to Max Kepler? I don't understand that.
Just
And
hating
we're
on
getting,
Max.
what do you say?
They're just hating on Max.
That's what they're doing. Pitcher, Sean. You know we don't stop at anything. Shane Bieber of the Guardians. Red Quam. Again, I think they just simply got it wrong. So Shane Bieber, 31 starts, 15 putouts, and a 969 fielding percentage. That's very good. Very good. He had 1 error. Zach Greinke, 20 putouts, 5 more putouts, 0 errors, 1,000 fielding percentage. He's got 5 more putouts, 0 errors. So, it's clear. What else are you grading a pitcher on? It's just clear cut is all I'm saying. Also, Zach Greinke has won. I think he's probably won 3 or 4 Gold Gloves at least in his career. He's a very
Yeah.
athletic player.
Yeah.
And maybe we're trying to spread the love, but just give it to the guy who deserves it. It's just so obvious if you look at the stats, unless they're looking at other things on the stats I'm not privy to, Sean. Well, for what I see, you can't be using ultimate zone rating for pitchers. Okay, they're not out there doing anything but getting the ball back to them. And I'm the best
Yeah.
fielding pitcher in the league. You know that.
Absolutely.
Utility player, Red Quam. I mean, this has not been a good American League Gold Gloves. Got a lot of Red Quams. DJ LeMahieu, runs prevented 7, outs above average 9, success rate 76, eye test solid. Talk about this last year. This was the guy I was pissed about. I forgot it was not just Tommy Edman. Nikki Lopes. I thought should have won the Platinum Award. Didn't win
Oh,
anything.
yes.
Love Nicky Lopez. Run prevented 10, outs above average 14. He split time at short and second base this year. I believe he played a third position as well, so he was definitely a utility player. He played more than one. Success rate 74%. Eye test fantabulous. Everyone knows Nicky Lopez is a premier defender, and his numbers are just better than DJ LeMahieu. You can't tell me Nicky Lopez isn't a better defender than DJ LeMahieu, especially because he's playing premier defensive positions. Whereas DJ's playing the corners, which is nothing wrong with it, but there's not as much value in that. So I did not like that. Nicky Lopez again, snubbed. Team, the Yankees, yellow quam. I agree at the end of the day, but shout out to Seattle and Houston. They had very comparable years as far as the Yankees with fielding percentage wise and some other metrics. And the Platinum Glove goes to Jose Trevino, yellow quam again. Scope could have won this, but I will say he had a less demanding position, and the difference between Trevino and Gary was so big that he deserved it. So I'm okay with Trevino winning it. But if Scope played a more demanding position on the second, should have been Scopes.
That's beautiful.
No, those are my qualms for the American League Gold Glove Award winners. How do you feel?
I feel like I agree pretty much with what you said. I was shocked to see DJ LeMahieu get that because I've never really thought of him as necessarily a Gold Glove defender, especially he missed time at the end of the year due to injury. I don't remember how much exactly, but like you said, I mean the traits of looking at the offensive numbers while voting on defense is pretty prevalent and should not be the case at all.
No. No. Now, do you want to jump to a Silver Slugger, or do you want to knock out all the Gold Gloves right now?
I think we'll knock out the gold before we hit the silver.
I love it. Catcher, JT Realmuto. I got a qualm, Sean. I got a red qualm with JT winning.
Red. Oh boy.
I know. Because JT we think of as a good defender. The numbers just didn't say it this year. Eye test is still good. There's nothing wrong with the eye test. Framing runs 0, like, and that's not good. Like a lot of catchers had more than 0 framing runs. Strike percentage 48.1 was okay. Travis d'Arnaud though, 10 framing runs, 48.9% strike percentage. Um, d'Arnaud had a really good defense, really good year defensively this year. I know JT was probably the best catcher in baseball, but I think this easily should have went to Travis d'Arnaud this year. First base, Christian Walker, not close. There is no qualm. He was far and away the best fielding first baseman in the league, period, let alone in the National League. 11 runs prevented, 14 outs above average. Eye test, I have watched some Christian Walker because they do play the Dodgers quite a bit. Eye test is really good. I like Christian Walker at first. The next highest first baseman had 3 and 4. I said 11 and 14 is those numbers, so he was really putting in work. Congratulations to you, Christian. Second base, Brendan Rodgers of the Rockies, red qualm. Runs prevented 2, outs above average 3, success rate 81%, eye test decent. Brendan Rodgers is a decent second baseman, nothing wrong with him. Shout out to Tommy Edman. He got snubbed last year from the Platinum Glove, and he almost had the most impactful season at second base, yet he was really a utility player this year. So he almost had more defensive runs saved at a position he only played 80 games in. He had like 8. But I couldn't give it to him because he was really a utility player this year. But who I do think deserves it, Sean, is a guy that you'll like, Jeffrey McNeil. And I'm going to ask you a question in a second. Runs prevented 6, outs above average 8, success rate 79%. Eye test, I have Sean question mark. I don't have a lot of eye tests on Jeff. What are you seeing?
He's not always the most smooth, but he is. I'm extremely comfortable with him at second. I actually have him when he gets to utility. I have him as utility Gold Glove because he played a lot of left field, right field, third base, a little bit of everywhere in the infield, and everywhere they put him in the field, he is outstanding.
Yeah.
He is just good. One of those guys who can play every position. He does sometimes lack arm strength, I guess you could say, on double plays. That he's not always the most smooth, but that's kind of nitpicking. But his range is really good, and it's almost too good. He's hurt himself many times diving for a ball in the infield or outfield, but I think he's definitely worthy of a Gold Glove, whether it be utility or second base.
And the reason I went second base, Sean, is because they gave him the Silver Slugger at second base this year, not at utility. They gave it to
Yeah,
Brandon Drury. So I was like, okay, they view him as a second baseman, and his numbers at second base were good enough to warrant it.
yeah.
But I know what you're saying. He's certainly a utility player in my mind as well when you really think about it. Moving on to third base, Nolan Arenado. You'd imagine I'd have no qualm here, Sean, but I have an orange qualm.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember the qualm video last year. There was a young third baseman who was injured for a lot of the season, and I said, he almost had a better defensive season than Nolan last year in half the games. Watch out, he might win the Gold Glove next year. He's really coming up. Do you remember who that third baseman was?
I don't remember now.
Brian Hayes.
Okay. All right.
And he did it this year. I mean, Brian Hayes balled out on the defensive side. Nolan had 11 runs prevented, 15 outs above average, 100% Gold Glove type season, 73% success rate, eye test, fantabulous. Brian Hayes, 13 runs prevented, 18 outs above average, 73% success rate, eye test, fantabulous. They are very close. I'm not going to say they're not very close. That's why it's an orange qualm. Respectfully, I disagree. I think Brian Hayes, people aren't talking about it. I think he is the new best fielding third baseman in the league. I think you're going to start hearing that conversation talked about next year. I think he's been the best fielding third baseman in the league for a whole year now. I said it last year, but he hasn't had the playing time to prove it. By next year, you're going to hear that, Sean. You're going to start hearing about Brian Hayes.
I'll remember this time.
100% Nolan Arenado was deserving of a Gold Glove this year. But they're both fantabulous. Shortstop, Dansby Swanson. No qualm. Dansby deserved it. Dansby was the best defender in the National League this year, according to Outs Above Average. He plays a premier position, so that helps him. But he was really good. Left field, Ian Happ, Sean. Shockingly,
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
He's turned his defensive side
yeah,
of the game around quite a bit. He was really just a pop guy when he first came up for the Cubs.
100%. There wasn't really a lot of good left fielders in the National League to go
Yeah,
against him. He was kind
not
of
really
league
a
average,
yeah,
but no
not a
qualm. He
premier
wasn't bad.
defensive position either.
No, certainly not. Center field, Trent Grisham, one of the best defenders uh, in the National League this
Nightmares.
year. No qualm. No qualm in Trent. Right field, Mookie Betts. We're on a roll here. No qualm. Did you ever think this would happen? I think is that 4 no qualms in a row?
I think so. Yeah.
So that is that. Yes, 4 no qualms in a row. Did you have any qualms there?
No, not at all. Yeah.
We get to pitcher though, Sean. Red qualm again. We got another red qualm.
Oh boy.
Corbin Burns. I'm not going to tell you who won if you don't know. Corbin Burns had 32 putouts, 2 errors, and a 962 fielding percentage. Max Fried had 15 putouts, 1 error, and a 976 fielding percentage. Who do you think should be the Gold Glove Award winner?
You repeat that again? You cut out on me.
Oh yeah, of course. Corbin Burns 32 putouts,
Yep.
2 errors. Max Fried 15 putouts, 1 error.
Corbin Burns all day.
Corbin Burns all day. Sean. Well, they said Max Fried. There was like probably 8 to 9 other pitchers in the National League I would give it to above Max Fried, but Max Fried had the year. Max Fried's the athlete. He's the last Silver Slugger. I'm Sean. I'm telling you, they're not taking it seriously about the defense.
Nope.
I don't appreciate it.
It's making the gold a little cheaper,
It's what it's doing.
You know the
Utility.
value.
Brandon Donovan of the Cardinals. Red Quam, Sean.
Yeah, me too.
He was 183rd in outs above average this year, Sean. There's 183 players better than him. There were like 16 Cardinals that had better defensive seasons than Brandon Donovan this season. -3 outs above average. -3 runs saved. Tommy Edmonds on the fucking team playing utility. He was the second best defender in like almost all of baseball.
What do you think Donovan's reaction when they called him and told him he won? Must have been like, you got the wrong guy.
You have Tommy Edmonds on your team. He's right there. Playing 80, Tommy Edmonds, 89 at second base, 80 at shortstop, 8 games at third base, 6 in the outfield. I just said Donovan, -3, -3. Tommy Edmonds, 14 runs prevented, 19 outs above average, 82% success rate. If that sounds high today, it's the highest success rate as far as infielders go. And everyone knows eye test is freaking ridiculous. Tommy Edmonds, everyone knows, is a filthy defender.
Yeah.
What are we talking about, Brandon Donovan? It's not even that he had a good year. What are we talking about?
I've never heard of him before he got announced for the Gold Glove for the utility. Some of the qualities I thought McNeil was very deserving, and I also thought Luis Guillorme.
Guillorme I was looking at him for second base as well. He came up.
Guillorme is one of the best defenders I've ever seen in my life play baseball. And he plays all over the infield, second, third, short. I think they might have played first once this year. But he was injured for a little bit, so I think that's why I kind of hurt him. But my goodness, Brendan Donovan, really? Like, what are they just like? They find the most random guy out
Tommy
there.
Edmonds on the team. Tommy Edmonds literally on the roster. Like if the guys on the team that you picked, 183 people were better at defense than Brandon Donovan this year. That's like the biggest, darkest red column I've ever had. And there's nothing wrong with you, Brandon. It's not you are put in an unfortunate position. No one's mad at you. Okay? It's just they put you in this position. Anyway, team award was the Cardinals. I have no qualm. Platinum Glove Award, Arenado. I have a little bit of a qualm. Um, 11 runs prevented, 15 outs above average, 73% success rate. Eye test fantabulous. Again, I thought O'Brien could have won the Gold Glove at third straight up. Who would I have had for my Platinum Glove? Frankly, Sean, Tommy freaking Edman. Swanson was slightly better. Like I said, he was the best defender in the National League, but he only plays one position. Tommy Edman plays multiple positions, so he has versatility, and he was close enough to Swanson in defensive impact that I think I would give it to Tommy Edman. Yet again, I mean, 14 outs, 14 runs prevented, 19 outs above average, 82% success rate, and Brandon Donovan won the utility award over him, and you couldn't even get a regular Gold Glove. I am just beside myself with that. I think that's I'm so sick. Nicky Lopez and Tommy Edman. If they don't win a fucking Gold Glove next year, so I'm going to shoot somebody.
Oh wow.
You too, Brian.
So Silver Sluggers.
I have less qualms, thankfully. American League showing Alejandro Kirk. I got no qualms. My lawyer said I'm not allowed. Nathaniel Lowe, no qualms. Man had a sneaky good year. Nathaniel Lowe had a really crazy to think the best first baseman offensively in the American League, Nathaniel Lowe, but he had a better year than Vladdy technically. I mean, if you really look at it, Vladdy kind of was not as great. Jose Altuve, this actually wasn't close. I didn't realize how good of a year Altuve had. Altuve had a really good year.
Yeah.
No qualms. Jose Ramirez, Devers was not even as close as I'd like him to be for as much as I love Devers. Jose Ramirez is certainly your Silver Slugger. Shortstop, Xander Bogaerts. I got an orange qualm, Sean. My first qualm.
Okay.
Believe it or not, you would not believe who I ended up, because I did the research. I think Bo Bichette should have won the Silver Slugger. I know it sounds crazy. He had such a shit year for so much of the year. You look at his end stats.
Yeah.
Almost 190 hits, 44 doubles. And he finished with the 290 average somehow. Like he ended up like
really?
having you would not have OBP was like at like 330, which
What's
is
his
high
OPS?
for him. I don't know what his OPS is. You look give Bichette's OPS a look, but I literally cannot believe it. Is what I wrote here. But I took a look at his end of season stats. They're simply better, and he's really pretty good. To be frank with you, Bo Bichette, I would not have guessed it. Outfield, Sean, Aaron Judge, no qualm. Julio, no qualm. Mike Trout, no qualm. Those who are far and away the clear top three outfielders in the American League this year, possibly in baseball. DH, Jordan Alvarez, no qualm. Utility, Luis Ariz, frankly, Sean, no qualm. The Silver Sluggers, not bad. One qualm in the American League, and that was a shortstop to Bo Bichette. I will say, shout out Yandy Diaz. He played mostly third, so I don't think he was really utility. But if Yandy Diaz was utility, I think he could have beat out Ariz for this utility Silver Slugger. Did you get the OPS on Bo?
Yeah, 802.
Not wonderful, but
Yeah, above 800. So we'll take that.
we'll take that. National League got a little more qualmy. A little more. Not too much, a little more. Catcher, JT Realmuto, no qualm. First baseman, Paul Goldschmidt, obviously no qualm. Second base, Jeff McNeil, no qualm. I gave Jeff McNeil a Silver Slugger and a Gold Glove this year in my book. So
We love you for it.
Third base, I feel bad, man. Nolan Arenado again. I'm gonna go yellow qualm. Yellow qualm. Literally so fucking close, but I might lean Manny. I might lean Manny for this. Again, I think he's the MVP, and he was right there with Nolan in that race. I like Manny's offensive numbers a tad better, and I also will say Austin Riley. You take a look at his numbers. He's right in the mix offensively with them too. So I think any one of those three could have got it, and I would have had a yellow qualm no matter who got it. And so the other two could have been it. Shortstop, Trey Turner, no qualm. Offensively, uh, Mookie Betts, no qualm. As the outfield number one. After that, Sean, the rest of the outfield, man, it gets a little qualmy out there, Sean. I had to have a list going. I had like 8 or 9 people. But after Betts, the next two best hitting outfielders in the National League, I mean, who did they have? They have Soto and Schwarber. I don't know. Schwarber hit 46 bombs, but he hit 213. And Soto hit 240. I know his on base 400, big Soto guy. He struggled a lot.
Yeah.
Who are your top three Silver Slugger outfielders? Did you have a thought on that?
I didn't look it up per se. I don't know if you have like a list in front of you of some of the top performing guys, but
So what I came to was Betts number one. The number two guy is neither Schwarber nor Soto for me. Off the reserve list here, I got Brandon Nimmo as my number two offensive center fielder, number two offensive outfielder this year in the National League.
oh,
Yeah, I mean the guy hits 400. The guy gets on base. He steals a little bit. His RBIs and runs are up. He hits. He's got doubles. He's got 7 triples. He's got extra base hits. His homers are close to 20. Uh, he doesn't strike out a crazy amount. He walks. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing wrong with his
yeah,
profile whatsoever. I like him a lot. Uh, now you get to 3, and now there is literally 3 people, Sean, and they almost have the same resume. They're all different, but they all come to the same point. Kyle Schwarber, Juan Soto, and Ian Happ. So Ian Happ almost sneakily again, sneaking away with a Gold Glove and a Silver Slugger in my book. Ian Happ with 42 doubles this year, with like a 350 on base percentage. Not a little sneaky year there for Ian Happ.
yeah,
Um, Soto, obviously, we know what he brings with the on base percentage and like 25 and 25 doubles and homers. And Schwarber, he's going to have the most extra base hits for sure, hitting 46 bombs and 20 doubles. I could not decide. The third outfielder literally is, well, I have written here do a Brian resume and have Sean decide. Clearly, I fucked that up, Sean.
it's okay.
I'm sorry. I couldn't decide. DH, Josh Bell, no qualms. I'm surprised. His stats at the end of the year was better than I thought they were because he struggled so much in San Diego. Utility player, Brandon Drury, no qualm. That's it for my qualms. I'm all qualmed out, Sean.
I mean, there were a lot of qualms, so I mean, naturally you would be.
You got Kwame. You got Kwame Brown, if you will.
A bona fide scrub.
Kwame Brown.
The man can't even walk.
Stephen A. Smith, we love you. We love you, Stephen. We really do.
Kwame.
Sean.
Jabba the Hutt.
Slobbily. That is, I've never heard someone be so mean to someone in my entire life, Sean.
Probably never even met him.
No, certainly, and I don't think you ever will. Is there anything else you got to tell the fans at home, or should we get into?
No, I think ready to card pick or pick a card, any card, see if we get anybody close to Joe Carter. Stop there. I feel like the middle have got the better cards. So.
I'm afraid we're gonna get a duplicate at some point. I don't know how, but Charlie Kerfeld.
I know this guy.
You know Charlie Kerfeld?
Pitcher for the Houston Astros in 1986. I only know him because he pitched against.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
I know my Mets stuff. Believe me, he pitched against the Mets in
1986 card though. It's like you're looking at the goddamn thing.
Oh really?
Yeah.
He blew the postseason. So earlier in the series, he got a ground ball from Gary Carter right back to the pitcher to get the final out of the game and showed Gary Carter the ball before he threw it to first. Later in the series, Gary Carter had a walk-off hit off him, and then he struggled the rest of the series after that. So that's kind of his claim to fame.
The 10th inning podcast, folks. I mean, this man just pulled out a goddamn magic trick out of his hat. He said, Charlie Cuffold, Houston Astros pitcher, 1986. What are we doing here?
I tell you, I know the older player. Like, a lot of these cards we picked, I haven't known all of them, but a lot of them I at least have an idea of who they are. Charlie
Well, I'll
Kirk.
tell you, in 1986, Sean, 2.59 ERA over 93 innings is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, it went all downhill after that. 6.67 and 87, then didn't pitch for 2 years. Then at a 6.62, then a 16.20, and then a 5.58.
How many innings was the 16 in, Sean?
It was 3 1/3.
Okay, 225, 6'6". Born in Knob Nooster, Missouri. Knob Nooster, Sean, is where he was born.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Look at that. And I don't know if you guys at home can see his picture.
Yeah, he's a looker. He's a looker.
He is a looker. Jeez. Sean, congratulations. You won that one.
Thank you.
It was winning. You did it. I pulled up these players. Would you just so tickle my peach and pretend you forgot the stats and tell me who you think the Silver Slugger is? Because I can't really have a qualm in it not getting it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Player 1. 100 runs. 126 hits. 21 doubles. 3 triples. 46 homers. 94 RBIs. 86 walks. 200 strikeouts. 10 stolen bases. 218 average. 323 on base. I know that's a lot of numbers at once. Do you feel you understand who that player is?
Yeah. I'm surprised he had 10 steals, to be honest with you.
That's crazy. Compare him to this player. 72 runs, and that's 72 versus 100 for player 1.
Okay.
155 hits for this guy, player 1 and 126. 42 doubles for player 2, player 121. 2 triples to 3 triples. 17 homers to 46 homers. 72 RBIs, player 194. 58 walks to player 1's 86. 149 strikeouts to player 1's 200. 9 stolen bases to player 1's 10. 271, 342 to player 1's 218, 323.
I think I'd go with player 2 just based on the batting average, lack of strikeouts, and
42
yeah,
doubles.
but I don't know.
It's really, I mean, he's got 42 doubles and 17 bombs versus 20 doubles and 46 bombs. But the guy with the doubles has a serviceable 270, 340, and the other guy doesn't. With
Yeah.
strikeout differences, and the RBI and run total favors the guy with the homers, obviously. It is neck and neck if you're asking me with those two guys.
Yeah. That's tough. That is very tough.
That's Kyle Schwarber versus Ian Happ.
And Schwarber ended up getting it, right?
Schwarber got it. I'll throw the third guy in the ring, which is Juan Soto. I'll read his stats. You know the other two guys' stats. Tell me if this would have broken the chain for you. 93 runs, 127 hits. It's not that many hits. 25 doubles, 2 triples, 27 homers, kind of the moderate amount. 62 RBIs, 135 walks, 96 strikeouts, 6 stolen bases, 242 average, 401 on base.
Excuse me.
What's
I don't think it would change. I think I'd still go with player 2.
Ian Happ. I don't disagree. So I got Brandon Nimmo and Ian Happ as my Silver Sluggers. Interesting.
You're trying to get Brandon Nimmo some more money on his next contract here.
Brandon Nimmo tonight, Sean. I'm gonna waste your time. I'm gonna waste the fans' time, and they're gonna listen to this because I want you to hear Brandon Nimmo's stats versus you just heard the other candidates. Really, these are the only other candidates that are close. I mean, 2 of these actually won Silver Sluggers. And tell me that you wouldn't like this guy over the other three guys we just read, including Ian Happ. 102 runs, 159 hits, 30 doubles, 7 triples, 16 bombs, 64 RBIs, 71 walks, 116 strikeouts, 3 bags, 274, 367.
Yeah, I'd pick Nimmo.
I think Nimmo was the second best offensive outfielder in the National League. You know how crazy that is? There really
Yeah.
wasn't anybody else out there. Marte was hurt for a while. I looked at Marte, and
Yeah, if he
and
was hurt, he would have been up there.
the only other guy I looked at was Michael Harris. And Michael Harris, pound for pound, I think if he played a full season, he could have got there. But he only had 110 games. He really wasn't putting up
Yeah.
the accounting stats you need. So Brandon Nimmo, Ian Happ are my Silver Sluggers. Over Juan Soto, Kraus Schwarber, who are both on my fantasy team. So I took their awards away.
How dare you?
Trey Turner's also on my fantasy team, Sean. So what does that mean for the world?
It means you're all messed up.
Yeah. But thank you guys for tuning into the Qualm episode. We I had to get this off my chest at some point, and I appreciate you.
Just call this episode the Qualmies, you know?
Sean, welcome to the Qualmies, baby. The title is gonna be Welcome to the Qualmies. Qualmies 2022. Qualmies Brown 20. I'm sorry, I haven't slept in so
We
long.
should totally insert the clip of Steven Java the Hutt.
Nah, but if you stayed this long, you get to watch the clip. Enjoy it. We'll see you next week on the 10th Inning Podcast.
Along the ideas of whether or not he deserves a second chance in the NFL, does he?
No. And I never say that.
I've never heard you say that.
I am a person that believes in second chances. I think America is the land of second chances. Except for when it comes to this dude, Mr. Jabba the Hutt, you fat, slovenly, no good, lazy.
No, come on, that's a little strong.
And listen, that's what he was with the Oakland Raiders. Darren Woodson was just sitting up here. He played for the Raiders. Ask him. Ask any member of the Oakland Raiders who played alongside this dude. This dude should be arrested for being a thief. He stole money from the Oakland Raiders for years. I'm talking $40 million. The dude had about 7 starts. Did absolutely, positively nothing. He cashed in the money, evidently used it on buying a bunch of donuts, okay?